And welcome to, well, an unusual episode of QI. First of all, it's a little bit quiet in here, and that's because there is no audience. There is no audience because we are shooting this in March 2020 during the coronavirus outbreak. We don't know how that's all going to turn out, so for safety's sake, we don't have 600 people in here. And I can't give a hug, as I usually do, to the entire crew. Joining me tonight in a show, well, it's all about rubbish. Kicking up a sting, Johnny Vegas. Down in the dump, it's Bridget Christie. There's something fishy about Holly Walsh. Just going to put it out there. And we're not sure what it is, but we found it down the back of the fridge. It's Alan Davis. And their buzzers actually serve a purpose, OK? They're literally repulsive. They are used to repel something, and I want you to tell me what they repel. So let's start with Johnny. What do you reckon? What does it sound like?
Oh, it's like an angry boar driven away.
Yes, it's OK.
But it's got snorting.
It's got snorting. Very.
Is that another animal? Is there more than one animal?
There is more than one animal. So you get a deer snorting, OK, followed by a dog barking, and it is something that the Japan Railway Technical Research Institute came up with. They were trying to prevent collisions with deer. So they do the deer snorting to attract the attention of the deer, and then the dog barking to make them go away. It was to stop them getting hit by trucks.
While they're going along, they're doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they have bullet trains at 200 miles an hour?
Yeah, I was just...
There's a deer going, what the hell was that? I think
it's optimistic. I mean, a cyclist, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who came up with that? Who went into work and went, I've had a hell of an idea?
Yeah, just going to put that out there. I think it's somebody who had a bit too much sake, don't you, possibly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to drink and drive trains? What's the deal with that?
No.
Oh, right, it was the person who invented it.
Yeah. Did you think just because it's on a track, it's OK to carry on having alcohol?
Yeah, I was
really
wondering,
not,
like...
Paul. It's really not.
OK, fine.
Yeah.
Well,
you could have told me this 2 years ago. Yeah. Anyway.
You're not allowed to fly planes either.
Johnny,
no, but with the crisis right now, I'm having a go. I want to drive a train.
OK, I want to drive one of those big articulated lorries. You know the ones where you have to get a ladder?
Have you ever been to Diggerland?
No.
It's incredible. So basically, it's an entire theme park based around...
It's all diggers.
JCB diggers and whatnot. They let 2-year-olds drive them. And I'm not even joking.
I had to go to court a long time ago for speeding in my car. And while I was in the court, there were 2 other people up before me. Yeah. And they said, you are charged with taking a bus. And I thought they'd bunked the fare. But what they'd done was they'd taken a bus. And then they talked in a very serious, courtly way about the route they took through the town and the carnage they wrought. No. And they really had to try and stand there and try and keep a straight face. And obviously the best night of their lives was being recounted.
We got drunk, me and my friend, and climbed under a covered carousel and slept on the top deck of, obviously, a miniature bus. And he told
How did you get in it? The tiny little opening.
I didn't go up the stairs. It was so small, I just climbed on it like Godzilla. But
were you woken by them testing it in the morning?
The guy was telling us how much trouble we was in, and you're going, for what?
Yeah.
Sleeping on a tiny bus. And somehow wishing we were bigger.
But did you get in trouble?
No, we just walked off and left him.
I love that. You have also taken the bus.
Yeah. Well, why don't you pull the tiny police car off and follow us?
The best chase ever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you! And they're just going round.
Round and round.
Fly away in the little helicopter.
Yeah. I love a merry-go-round. I'd like to sleep on a merry-go-round. I think
it's
that would be great. Yeah.
I've never been more at peace.
People sleep on roller coasters when they're breaking records.
Do they?
I've heard of that. They go, how many days can you last on a roller coaster? And you're allowed off 5 minutes every hour to have a...
No, you should have to do all your ablutions off the side of it. That should be part of it.
Well, that's a health and safety issue
no,
for
not
miles
girls.
around.
No, girls are not going to stick their bottoms out over the edge of a roller coaster.
Well, we've all done a motorway moonie.
Why wouldn't
We haven't all done a motorway
we
moonie,
haven't.
Holly Walsh. It's just
OK,
you.
who's done
OK,
a
fine.
motorway moonie? Have you done a motorway moonie? No. Please say no.
Bridge, back me up here. You must have
Well,
done
it was in France, it wasn't here.
Oh, what, that doesn't count?
It's different.
an auto route booty.
I thought no one will know it's
Yeah.
me. No, I was on my own. I wouldn't take my trousers off in front of...
You were on your own. Were you driving? How does that work?
I'm a very talented driver.
I was going to say.
I was being taught how to drive a tractor once by a farmer.
Right.
And I hadn't realised that the farmer had jumped off. We
How
had...
could you not notice? There's not doors or anything.
He was stood on the outside and we were talking and I thought, oh, he's been quiet for a while.
He'd
But
fallen to his death.
We had come
Jump.
quite a long way and he hadn't yet taught me how to stop it.
Oh, my God, what happened?
I had to crash into a barn.
You began this story with saying, I have many skills, and then the first thing you say is you drove a tractor into a barn.
Johnny, can you play us the buzzer again so we can hear it? Now we know what it is.
I'm not getting the dog woof. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. I think of all the things on it, the dog woof was the clearest, if I'm
Does it
honest.
not sound like there's a car driving away in
Yeah,
the
in the
middle
middle,
of it?
yeah. That's a deer reversing.
It's a deer doing an impression of a reversing car.
No, it's her farmer jumping off.
Right, let's move on. Bridget, let's have a listen to yours.
So it's a swarm.
It's a small bees. Why should we have a sound? What would it repel, buzzing bees, what do you reckon?
Wasps.
Wasps?
Gang warfare.
You think, oh, like
go
the
anywhere
sharks
near
and the
them.
jets in West Side Story, just like that.
I do think it might be not a human...
Yes, it's something huge.
Elephant.
Elephants is exactly right. It's elephants, yeah. Elephants are terrified of bees. You get a point.
Let me have this moment.
Do the bees go up the trunks?
Yes, that's a problem. They can't penetrate the thick hides, but they can go up the nose, up the arse, up the mouth.
Up the arse?
I would imagine.
But elephants don't have huge arseholes, do they?
Let's not focus on the arseholes.
Can't they blow them out?
So in Kenya and in Tanzania, some farmers have a problem with elephants trampling on the agriculture. They enclose the land with beehive fences, so they've got hives dotted all the way along them, and the elephants try to enter the fields. It bumps into a wire, it disturbs the bees, and they swarm. And elephants are so bee-averse that they make a specific rumbling sound to warn each other that bees are in the area.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Have you ever seen the bees in that documentary that got a taste for beer and broke into the brewery?
Yes.
I saw a deer that ate some fermented apples and fell into a tree.
Or the monkeys, when they eat the fermented fruit and they just go, I saw you.
And you shouldn't find it funny, should you? But honestly, a Labrador and a bowl of champagne is hilarious. It's not.
If flies or anything ever fly into my alcoholic drink,
Yeah.
I always sober them up. It's just...
You drop them in a
Buy them
coffee.
pizza.
I don't know why everyone's laughing. The humane thing to do. Yeah,
What do you
I
do?
I always go, well, you know, just get them a series of, you know, vitamin C.
Yes.
A Barocca.
Dry them out and give them a backstory.
Holly, let's have a listen to your one.
It's your best single, I think.
Thank you. It repels me.
Dan at the Comedy Store, used to be the stage manager there, he would play Ace of Spades by Motorhead at the end of the Late Show at 2 a.m.
To just get rid of everybody.
Get rid of everyone.
Yeah, just sorts
It worked.
them out. That would
Didn't
send
they
me
play
out.
heavy metal outside General Noriega's house when they were trying to force him to come out?
Yes, they did. But that would certainly send me out. But it's something even smaller than me. It's crickets.
Oh.
So there was a tiny community in Nevada, and the crickets used to invade this community place called Tuscarora every year, destroying the crops and swarming houses and clogging up the roads and so on. So in 2006, they discovered if they played Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones at full volume, it stopped the insects in their tracks.
Have they thought of growing sweet corn instead?
Do you think the crickets wouldn't like that?
Good point.
Yeah.
Bridget knows some farmers, or knew some farmers until they died.
You knew a farmer. The one who fell off the tractor. Was he OK, by the way?
Oh, well, he was just, like, waving from 2 fields away.
Did you hurt yourself when you went into the barn? Or did you come
was
out the other side with a
It
cow
was
on
the worst
front?
3 days of my life.
The worst 3...
You were driving it round for 3 days?
No.
3 days you couldn't find the brakes.
Go round and round like Father Ted.
No, I thought there was more to life than working in an office, so I thought, oh, I'll be a farmhand.
Just drive for 3 days.
No, that was the job on the second day, but I'd already had to milk cows with my hand and...
Did you do the third day for being a farmer?
I said, I'm not cut out for this, I'm really sorry.
Day one, they made you milk a cow.
Well,
Day two, they taught you how to drive but not stop a tractor. What was the third one? They were like, there's a haystack.
No, this
somewhere
is
in it's a needle. Good luck.
I've just remembered the worst thing.
There's more?
Yeah, when I was milking the cows, they know from your touch if you're new. You're in, like, a swimming pool that doesn't have water in it. They don't make you swim and milk them at the same time. It's just so you're on the level with their feet and you're here going, oh, come on. And the cow's tail went up and it pooed all over me because it was new. And
Why were you behind it?
No, I was underneath
to
it.
the side.
No, but listen, that's not the worst.
That's still not the worst bit.
The worst bit is that the farmer made me stand in the courtyard while he hosed me down with a hose.
That's abuse.
That's what I thought, oh, I'm sure it's all off now.
Alan.
Yeah.
What is your buzzer?
Like when you're in bed and you can hear a mosquito in the room.
That is exactly
like that.
It is a mosquito alarm.
Does that warn you that there's a mosquito nearby?
Actually, we did it so that you can hear it here in the studio. But when it is at the correct level, it can only be heard by young people. Can we play
young
that?
people?
Yes, only be heard by young people.
I've seen this in one of those science shows at Edinburgh. And they go higher frequencies and they say, sit down if you can't hear it. So gradually we all sit down and then there's a few children left and then they say, right, sit down. And then the last one they do, they're not playing anything and they just capture all the line.
Yeah,
little
the bit of the ear that detects higher frequencies, so the bone in the inner ear, is susceptible to wear and tear, and it gets worse as you get older. So this noise can really only be heard by very, very young people. Now, we did it so you could hear it, but have a listen to what it ought to sound like. Anybody?
Oh, yes, I can hear it.
Yeah. It's playing now. Can anybody hear it? OK, over in the corner, we have young Anna. Can you hear it?
I can hear it, yes.
Wow, we hate you.
How old are you, Anna?
23.
Don't play it backwards, because it just says kill your parents.
It's going on a loop at the moment. And can you hear
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I can absolutely hear that.
Wow. It is the weirdest thing. It was invented by a guy called Howard Stapleton in 2005. He used his children as test subjects.
Does this stop, like, youths hanging out outside Burger King?
Yeah, so Burger King, 7-Eleven, Transport for London have used it. They also find now that classical music or folk music is another thing that makes young people...
Well, I think folk music probably keeps most people away, doesn't it?
I love folk music.
Actually, we've changed your buzzer to something a bit better. Let's see if it makes Anna go away. Oh, yeah, she's off. She's leaving us straight away. It was not a cool thing.
At Brixton Station, they were playing classical music, but it was to, like, stop people from getting violent and aggressive, I guess.
Where, Brixton? I got my teeth knocked out outside Brixton Tube Station.
What? It was an angry farmer who'd been searching for you.
I came out of the tube,
Yeah.
and a man said, oh, give us all your money. And I said, oh, I haven't got any. And then...
He punched you?
Yes.
I'm glad I've known you in the better years, because, you know, before it's not gone well for you. Your agricultural years, your
when
Brixton
did
years...
How old were you when things started to go right?
And how long do you think that will last?
From repelling sounds to repulsive tastes, what's brown and sicky?
Oh, the taste of vomit.
Well,
Brown, the taste of vomit.
it is something that has a chemical in it that is also in vomit.
It's American chocolate.
It is American chocolate, you're absolutely right. So if you buy American chocolate, it tastes, I don't know, more tangy and bitter than European chocolate. Do you know why?
Yes, milk. They use UHT, don't they, or dried milk or something?
The chocolate factories in the United States are further from the dairy farms than in the UK, obviously, so you've got to move the milk for a bit longer. And so they have a chemical process which extends the shelf life, and it produces something called butyric acid. And that is the same stuff that you get in Parmesan cheese,
Yes.
and in vomit. So even chocolate brands that don't use that process sometimes add that acid anyway, just to mimic the taste, because the Americans have got used to it. So if you think, actually, it tastes a bit sicky, it's because it's the same acid as in sick. But the American chocolate has a lot more sugar in it, and it has fewer cocoa solids. 20% in the UK, 10% in American
That's the fat coming
chocolate.
to the... You know when you get chocolate and it goes white if you leave it too long?
When you find it in the back of a drawer.
Yeah. It's the fat comes out of it. It rises out of it.
I was doing a play once in the West End, and this is in 2003, I think. And an elderly lady came to see it, I think, 4 times. And on the 4th time, she gave me a Kit Kat. I said, oh, it's very kind. And then the next day, I ate the Kit Kat, and it tasted exactly like an old lady's cupboard. It's not a euphemism. And I looked on the sell-by date, and it was 1998. It was a 5-year-old Kit Kat. I mean, it may have been more. I don't know how long they last.
Do you think
couple
she
of years,
bought
I
it
imagine.
5 years ago and thought, I'm saving this
She
for
found
Alan?
it in a cupboard and thought, I'll give that
I
to that
think
bloke
5
who's boring me shitless every night at that play.
She saw it and it caught her eye. She thought, I know he'll like that. Alan, I have to build up his trust over a number of years and then I'll be able to give it to him. And he'll definitely eat it because he'll trust me.
But the odour of the old lady's cupboards was unmistakable.
I think we're being very mean.
OK.
You'll be an old lady...
Ish.
Soon.
Yeah.
And we'll all be
and my
saying
cupboards
that
will
you
probably
smell...
smell like that, but they don't at the moment.
You smell of
But you don't have
old
friends.
ladies.
Covered.
I've never been less insulted in my life.
Hershey's have a history of making chocolate with a bitter taste. In the 1930s, they developed a special bar. It was for the American military, and they wanted it to be deliberately unappealing. Why do you think they might do that?
Wartime brides. They made shit chocolate and stockings with holes in them.
In order to lure the British brides.
No, to keep them away from American soldiers.
OK. Why would they make deliberately unpleasant chocolate?
Have bromide in it.
No, it's meant as an emergency ration, so you don't want the soldiers going, ooh, lovely chocolate, and eating it.
I was in CCF at school and we had
that?
a combined cadet
Combined Cadet
forces.
Force. I was in that as well.
Which were you?
Army.
Right, I was RAF. But basically...
Did you say that like it was better?
That's what they were like.
that
That's
was
what the RAF ones
snobbish.
were like.
Yeah, they had this thing called 24-hour ration kit, which we had to have. We did do, like, an overnight, you know...
Manoeuvre.
Yeah, in like, Iraq or something.
Ching for flame we did ours.
We did our RAF Odeon.
Did you?
Yeah.
You did it in the cinema?
No, Odium.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Odeon.
I did too.
What is the
Can't
RAF?
do night manoeuvres in the Odeon. That's a whole different thing.
And we had those things, and they were supposed to sort of have enough calories in it to last you 24 hours, and they packed into a tiny thing, and they did exactly that. It meant you didn't want to eat the chocolate first.
No, you didn't want to eat it. It's called a D ration. It was also known as a Logan bar. It was named after the colonel who first ordered their manufacture. And so it was but high energy content, could withstand high temperatures, but frankly, barely any better than a boiled potato.
Oh, I like boiled potato.
A cold boiled potato.
Any temperature.
Yeah.
No, not one that would burn your mouth.
But there it is. Look, and in the Second World War, they upgraded it to be poison gas proof, and so they packaged every single bar in sort of thick heat-sealed cellophane. Then they inserted it into a cardboard carton that was glued shut. They covered it in a wax carton that was then placed in a master carton, and all of this was put in a wooden case and nailed shut and kept with steel strips around it, and it was often thrown away unopened because the soldiers hated it so much. They used to call it Hitler's secret weapon because it made them ill.
There's definitely been nights I would just have eaten it.
It wrought havoc with their teeth and intestines.
I know, but even then, there's been nights where I've just been craving chocolate so badly, I'd have just eaten it.
Just gone for it anyway.
Yeah.
American chocolate tastes like sick, but don't worry, it's supposed to. From rubbish tastes to tasty rubbish. Why did the Romans put their dinner on the floor?
Is it because they were thinking, what would archaeologists like to dig up in the future?
Did they stamp it in because they wanted really cheap tiling?
Well, they did kind of stamp it in. What they did was they decorated dining room floors with a mosaic of fake litter. It's kind of an early humble brag, if you like. It's called Asarotus oikros, or unswept room. Basically, the ancient Greeks did it first, and it's discarded leftovers of opulent feasts. So that it looks as though you are incredibly wealthy. So you'd have grapes and chicken legs and seafood shells and stray nuts and olive pits and all that kind of things.
That's so weird. So that's basically like their equivalent of like Tops Tiles flooring was just putting loads of rubbish on their floor.
Well, if you were rich, so you're saying, I'm so rich I could have thrown all of this stuff on the floor.
It's like the equivalent of getting gold teeth for no reason.
I've got a gold tooth. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Is that,
Oh,
is
that's
that-
very impressive.
If you had it back there, wouldn't you have a little window put in there? So
you
everyone
can
could
see
see
it.
it.
Right.
When you walk past gas converters, is your jaw drawn to it?
Let's go back to Roman
Oh,
rubbish.
Sorry. I did see a lad in gas converters once. He couldn't have been 15, and he had a sewing machine, and they went, what's your reason for selling it? And he went, unwanted gift.
Right, we're going to go to Rome. So we've already covered the fact that Rome's built not on 7 hills, but on 8. We did that in a previous series. But that's not counting Monte Testaccio, which is a fantastic... So look at this hill.
Oh.
This hill is 150-foot high. It's in the centre of Rome. It is actually an ancient rubbish dump. It's made from an estimated 25 million shards of amphorae. So all the stuff that they kept oil and wine in. Why do you think they dumped it? Why would you not use it over and over again?
Plague?
No, it would get spoiled if you used it too often, is the problem. And so they had to get rid of them. They accumulated over 3 centuries.
Well, earthenware's porous.
Yes, so it can't last forever, and it smells. They just used one time and then got rid of.
That was the Roman equivalent of Starbucks car park.
Yeah. When they're empty, they weigh about 30 kilograms. When they're full, they weigh more than 100 kilograms, so somewhat heavier than the average British adult male. They didn't actually dump them in the sense that they didn't just chuck them there. There were people in charge. They were carefully smashed and stacked, and some of them were left whole, so they were like pillars because they didn't want to have landslides, and then they would sprinkle lime on top of them because the rancid oil had a terrible smell. And it's an astonishing hill. There's even a restaurant dug into the side of it. There are caves dug into the side of it. But it's 25 million shards.
Years ago, I did a film with Roger Law, you know, that created Spitting Image. And in one scene, I had to smash £25,000 worth of ceramics donated by contemporary ceramicists.
So they were genuine, they're not props?
No, they were all donated pieces. But there was a couple there, and I'd love to see what they'd done with them. Somebody somewhere will have the most amazing mosaic.
Oh, wouldn't it be fantastic?
Of contemporary ceramics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it would be like the park, the Gaudi Park in Barcelona, which is all made of bits and pieces.
Have you ever listened to The Butterfly Effect
Yeah.
by John Watson? And he talks about people with really specific fetishes. So, like, one of them was that they sent their stamp collection to 2 porn stars and they just had to burn it on camera. It was like a 40-year collection of stamps, and that's all he wanted, but that was his fetish. And I was just thinking, I think that's my fetish, watching you smash up some vases.
How does anybody discover that that's their particular fetish?
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
There's everything online. I was looking something up about something on...
Yeah.
If you put 2...
Tractor and barn.
Yeah.
I think it was cheese and teeth or something.
No, I came back from Thailand, where I had discovered a vegetable that I liked very much called morning glory, and I thought, I wonder where you buy that in London. Well, turns out, all over.
My ex used to... he asked me to go cross-eyed just before he ejaculated.
Do you know...
Well, for a target.
In the world of too much information, Bridget, that's right up there on my list.
Were you on the phone at the time?
I didn't see him after that.
Well, not if your eyes are like that.
Couldn't see anything.
He just wanted to pretend he had a twin.
How did he get that fetish?
I don't know. He just went, oh, go cross-eyed, will you, love? Like
Oh, can you imagine him falling in love online and meeting a cyclops? He'd be gutted.
We're talking rubbish, and a similar discovery was made in 1897 by these 2 rather marvellous Victorian archaeologists, Bernard Grenfell and Arthur Hunt. I mean, how camp do they look? They're rather marvellous, aren't
David
they?
Beckham on the right.
Yeah.
Not remotely cross-eyed, they do nothing for me.
They're great. They dug into a sand dune about 120 miles south of modern Cairo, and they found this astonishing rubbish dump. More than 500,000 fragments of papyrus generated by an ancient city called Oxyrhynchus. And it's an incredible collection. The manuscripts date from roughly the 3rd century BC through to the Muslim conquest of Egypt in 640 AD. All the fragments were taken to the Ashmolean in Oxford.
I mean, obviously, that's the right place for them.
Clearly there.
Culturally appropriate.
But for more than 100 years, they were trying to analyse them, and they managed to transcribe just 5,000. And then in 2014, the whole collection was made digital, and algorithms were used to cross-reference and so on. And since then, more than 200,000 fragments have been translated.
What date were they?
From the 3rd century BC right through to 640 AD.
So it was like a library of ancient manuscripts.
It's everything. There's a 3rd century doctor's report, but there's also literature. They discovered an extract from Andromeda, the lost tragedy by Euripides. I mean, it is the most fabulous and astonishing collection, but effectively it was a rubbish dump and it had all been thrown away.
It does look like an audit and a 3rd century attempt at shredding.
Yeah. Yes, like we've done this. It's like...
Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
What's that little square they've drawn? The 3 squares.
I don't know whether that's marginalia
That's,
from the time or...
It's a kitchen and they're looking into building a side return.
Oh, yes, I can see that, yeah. I love it. I think it's so fascinating.
It is,
what
it's
else they're going to
beautiful.
discover in there, because not even half of it has been analysed yet. I think it's amazing. Now, for a question on recycling material. Alan, what's the point of all this blue whale shit?
What, you can use it?
It is vital to the planet.
Is it?
Well, it's unbelievably important for the entire ocean. So they don't defecate at depth, because you wouldn't really, would you? You'd hang on, wouldn't you?
Get to the surface and do it?
Until you
Do
get
they
to the
do
top.
the long, really long, stringy ones like a goldfish?
40 miles.
Well, this is actually whale poo right here. This is what it looks like. Who has taken that photograph? I do not...
Well, the whale,
do
I
not-
presume, and
yeah,
then
imagine.
Instagrammed it. Just
If
out of
you-
shit. Well, people do that, don't they? Really? A friend of mine told me, Bridget does it.
If you were a dietitian, you'd want a more solid stool. If I do 2 days on cider, that's what I do. But if I stick to me 5 a day...
What side?
It's a bit more compacted, is it that
Yes.
what you're saying? Okay.
What ciders? That's what you take from that sentence. What cider?
I once went to
What cider was it,
a
though?
swimming pool in Bracknell. It was basically like with all the flumes and stuff like that. And me and my brother were in the tidal wave going round and round and round. And a turd
whale
followed us
shat
the
in the-
whole way. And they couldn't get us out to get the turd out. So they turned it off and we just kept
So you were chased by a turd?
Yeah, but because we were going round, we were quite small, so we were in the current, and the poo was coming... So even when they turned it off, you had to wait for the current to die down, and me and my brother kept having to basically slow down and down and down. Then they emptied the pool, everyone had to get out.
Where was the person who had done the poo? Were they at the top, laughing?
Bracknell Town Centre by then.
Whales need to conserve oxygen, so they shut down lots of processes when they are down at depth, and that includes digestion. And when they get to the surface, they release what can only be described as a fecal plume of buoyant excrement, but it is incredibly nutrient-rich. It's absolutely full of iron. It's a concentration 10 million times higher than the surrounding water, and this acts as fertiliser of phytoplankton, which photosynthesises, and in doing so, it absorbs enormous amounts of CO2, and it produces between half and 90% of the Earth's oxygen. So most of the oxygen that we are breathing is made by plankton, and the plankton need whale poo.
Have we got enough blue whales?
We don't have enough blue whales. The IMF has actually put a figure on them, and one of the reasons that it's not just the poo, that they accumulate carbon in their bodies, and when they die, they sink down to the bottom of the ocean, and they take up to 33 tons of stored carbon with them. So that's the equivalent of 600 trees photosynthesising for an entire decade, and that's locked up in the corpse on the ocean bed for hundreds of years. So the IMF did this thing. They had a look at how much are they worth to us, and each whale is worth about $2 million American. So the current stock of whales is valued at $1 trillion US. But it's just so interesting how it works within the ecosystem. For each bowel movement, they excrete about 200 litres.
They should really put it in a little bag.
It is enough to fill 2 bathtubs. It'd be quite a big bag. that you'd
Also, as they sink to the bottom, they feed almost everything that's in the ocean.
Is there not an argument then to, like,
Stop
dispose of human bodies that are like that?
What, just chuck them in the sea?
Take everyone who's died out to Mariana Trench and just sink them, let them be eaten by all the, whatevers.
Right.
And then all the CO2, we just do all that.
Yeah, I don't know how we would sell this in the funeral parlour on the corner of the high street as a plan.
Oh, I'm up for it.
OK. Now, for a different kind of repulsion, I want you to point, please. I'm going to throw this to you two. Please, can you point to the Earth's magnetic North Pole on this globe?
Bound to
Tread carefully.
It's not going to be the bit where you blow it up.
So the magnetic North Pole.
Look, we're going to get it wrong. Go for Wales.
Trick, doesn't it? Sounds like a trick.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to spin it. You close your eyes. Put your finger on it.
OK.
You
go on
ready?
then.
Like,
OK, up there, right?
I'm not pointing now.
No, yeah, still not right.
Nowhere.
No, still not right. So, let's have it back. How about you guys?
Well, now, look, has it, because I know it can,
Yeah.
has it flipped?
No.
It's not at the bottom.
Well, it might be, but it hasn't flipped.
It hasn't. Because magnetic north
Yeah.
can sometimes flip and be south for a while.
What
not
we
there.
do know is that it drifts, the magnetic pole, it drifts.
Oh, well, then her feeling up the thing was the right...
Well, unless she's completely in the wrong part of the globe. You are right about drifting and flipping, but we are not talking about that.
I think it's slightly off north, the top of the globe, as
OK.
it were.
No is the answer.
Slightly off the bottom.
Can we have
Yes.
it back?
So it has flipped.
No, it's that we refer to it as the wrong thing. So if you think about it, the Earth is basically one big magnet, and that is why compasses work. So a compass is another magnet, and the Earth and the compasses are attracted to each other, OK? Let us imagine that you have got two magnets. I've got them marked here. So I've got two magnets marked north and south. OK, if I take the north bit of this magnet, which bit of the magnet...
I'm just worried because your kitchen cupboards are all flopping open now.
Which bit of the magnet is it going to be attracted to?
The opposite.
It's going to be south. It's going to be like that, so that the north is attracted to the south, right? It's the opposite ends of the magnet which attract each other. So if you've got the north end of a compass, which is a magnet, which end of another magnet will it point to?
Oh, it's gone in the rubbish tip! We'll
just,
find that in a million
You
years.
just
Yeah.
threw the world in the bin.
OK. So, just to finish, compasses are magnets. Their north end points to the Arctic, so therefore, even though we call that end the North Pole, it must be the magnetic South Pole.
Oh, I get it, yeah.
The very first person to realise that the Earth had a magnetic field was Elizabeth I's physician, a guy called William Gilbert. He was a 16th century scientist, and at the time, people believed that magnets had souls. He called it an astral magnetic mind. For him, it explained why the Earth rotated. So the Earth got too hot when she was in the sun, and then she needed to cool down, and so she rotated. But it's to do with a bit like a sunbather turning over when they're too hot.
Or a doner
on one
kebab.
side. Or a doner kebab, exactly that. When we talk about explorers like Scott and Amundsen going to the poles, they, of course, depended on the Earth's magnetic field in order to navigate.
Amazon delivers all the way to the North Pole.
Amundsen.
Oh, Amundsen.
But yes, they
Amundsen.
would.
Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian. Well, he rather famously beat Scott to the South Pole.
Oh, right, yes, I did know
But
that.
he was supposed to be going to the North Pole at the time.
Right.
It was in 1909, and news reached him that the American Robert Peary had reached the North Pole, and all of his funding and the loan of his ship was all tied to him going to the North Pole, but he didn't want to be second. So while he was at sea, he turned the ship around and sailed south, and what I like is he didn't tell the crew his plan for over a month, and nobody seemed to notice that they were heading in the wrong direction. And when they started getting suspicious, he said he was just taking a detour on the way to the North Pole. But he did become the very first person to get to the South Pole. Right, a question on a different sort of attraction, the romantic kind. What Danish trick gets English pulses racing? This is a long time ago. So who were the Danes that first came to the UK?
Invaders,
Vikings.
longboats.
Vikings, OK, so we're talking 11th century. And they seduced English women using the power of cleanliness.
No.
Yes.
Soap.
They washed.
So
They washed.
They washed.
The great
So-
washed met the great unwashed.
Yeah, so when they came and, they invaded and established the Dane law, they tended to come without women. They married English women, and this upset the locals very much. But according to a monk called John of Wallingford, the Danes cheated by washing. This is a new idea. The Danes made themselves too acceptable to English women by their elegant manners and their care of their person. They combed their hair daily and took a bath every Saturday, and even changed their clothes frequently, by which means they undermined the chastity of the wives, which is a totally different story to all the rape and pillage
Well,
thing.
yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
no. So there is a theory that all of that was written down by Englishmen who'd had their wives taken, that it was rape and pillage. And there is another theory that, in fact, they turned up unbelievably good-looking. They just rowed across the North Sea.
Had a bath and went
had a
on the
bath.
pool.
Yeah. That guy, I mean, he could pull me. He's looking, don't you think?
I'd service a man, if you're going, what's that stuff you use?
It's a little.
Stops me
That was a
smelling
very
like
little
me.
gesture. I would service the man. You would almost imperceptibly service a man.
Just a little bit under the arms, please. Come on, Jeff. Sure alike.
But they did wash, and it was a sort of secret weapon. So there are some experts who suggest that we're not much better than the Vikings, really, in our washing habits. They did a study in 2018. It was the US Centre for Hygiene and Health in Boston, and they claimed that modern-day bathtubs, I don't know whether you guys are bathers or showerers, 100 times as much bacteria in a normal bath as in a rubbish bin. Apparently, they recommend if you are going to take a bath...
Do it in a rubbish bin.
Well, that, or shower before and after.
I've had a water meter fitted, so I just swim at canal.
What did you just say?
He's had a water
I've had
meter
a water
fitted,
meter fitted,
so now he just swims in the canal.
I'm from Guildford, so I'm stuck here.
Why might a bath be good for you, even if it's full of bacteria?
I think you get lighter in it and it takes stress off your joints, and it's almost like being in space, but for a shorter period.
It improves your circulation and it lowers your blood pressure, which is what you were trying to say, isn't it, Johnny?
No, I was trying to say it's like being in space, but thank you, Sandy.
Well, this is good news for anybody who doesn't like exercise. They've done studies, and people with depression, it lifts your mood, a bath, more than physical exercise.
As long as you don't put a toaster in there too.
Yeah, don't do that. Now, can you get these cans that you have beside you ready for recycling, please? Get them ready to put them in the recycling. What would you do?
I would normally crush mine.
OK, go ahead.
We were told years ago by Eddie Izzard to
was
crush
told
them.
to
There were specific machines to crush them.
So since then, there are newer machines which have become more automated. So they use the size and the shape of the object in order to identify them. So if you crush the can, it might not realise what it is, and it might put it in the non-recycling pile.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
We're like an information service.
It really annoys me when recycling thing says not currently recyclable, as though it's like we wish it was, but the science hasn't kept up.
Too much for it.
It's not our fault.
But also the thing is, all of the recycling facilities vary throughout the country. So you do actually have to check with your borough. The one where we are currently recording, had we crushed them, we couldn't recycle them. It just really depends on what the item is. So, for example, I have here paper. This is receipt for the cans that we got. So which bin should these go in?
I mean, I
Depends what
recycle
paper
them.
it is.
Cardboard.
The shiny paper doesn't go in, and magazines, that doesn't go in with
Why?
the paper. Because it's got the coating.
Yeah, about half of all receipts are non-recyclable.
But that's bonkers. Like, that's a
But
responsibility
people don't
of...
know this, though, as well.
Yeah, but I think this should be like, these are the 25 things we recycle and these are the things we don't recycle. It's this, and if things like half one thing and half the other, and I don't know, it's not that I want to give up, but I just feel like they're making it very difficult.
It is very complicated. These are printed on thermal paper. It's the stuff you used to get in the early fax machines, so it's coated in a kind of chemical, and they cannot be recycled because you will release the chemical into the atmosphere. It's actually sort of weird stuff. So it works by... the printing on it turns black when it's exposed to heat. That's the way it works. So it only heats up the parts that are written on. If you take... I mean, I haven't got...
Sandy, you haven't asked if it's going anywhere nice on its holidays.
No, that I should do. Sorry. There you can see that it goes completely black. It's the chemicals that are doing that. So don't recycle those.
But if you are struggling with your recycling, you're not sure, put it in your neighbours and let them sort it out.
Time for a last rummage around the bottom of the bag for the sniff of bin juice that we call general ignorance. Fingers on buzzers, please. Name the last commercial flight to fly faster than the speed of sound.
Is it Concorde?
So officially, Concorde is the only supersonic commercial service that ever existed, but several flights have since then flown faster than the speed of sound. On average, a flight from New York to London takes 6 hours. It's 3,500 nautical miles. But you get this jet stream that pushes you along. So under normal conditions, the speed of sound is 760 miles per hour, but it doesn't cause a sonic boom because...
Couldn't afford it.
No, relative to the air that you are moving in, you are travelling under the speed of sound. But if you are on a plane that's being pushed by the jet stream, you are travelling, according to your speed across the ground, faster than the speed of sound. It's rather like a man on a train running. So the man on the train appears to the rest of us to maybe be doing 100 miles an hour, but in fact, he's just running at a perfectly normal speed. Alan, you've been on the Concorde, haven't you?
I have been on the Concorde.
Yeah.
You look a bit like a Concorde
Yeah.
in profile.
Well, What was it like?
That's a compliment.
Unbelievable.
What?
It's a compliment.
Yeah. I didn't say you look like a virgin Pendolino. I said
look
you look like a
like
great piece of
Rue
engineering.
from the Despicable Me film.
New York to London, the fastest BA Concorde flight, 1996, 2 hours, 52 minutes and 59 seconds. It hit a top speed of 1,350.
I used to fly over. I used to play cricket in Wandsworth, and they flew over Wandsworth Common, and it was loud, but they weren't allowed to really turn the engines on until they'd cleared Cornwall.
Why do you think it's spelled with an E, which is the French version?
Is it because it was a medieval plane?
What?
Like oldie England?
Oldie England. No.
The oldie plane.
The ye oldie Concordie.
The argument about whether to spell Concorde with an E caused an absolute nationalist uproar in Britain, which rather pre-echoed the Brexit convulsions 50 years later.
Surprising.
I know that people thought
Concord mean in English?
it's it's peace. It's a sort of...
Oh, Concorde.
You know.
Well, I thought that was
Concorde.
I thought that was a French word anyway.
Concorde.
It is a French word. It's spelt without an E in English, but it's the way in which we spell it caused trouble. The Tory government in 1962, when they made the first agreement, said we'll spell it Concorde without an E, and then Tony Benn came in 1967 into government, and he said, oh, who cares? We'll spell it with an E. But it caused an absolute uproar. Right, look around you and point to a symbol you can see on the set that tells you you can recycle something. Alan, pick one.
The one right in the middle of the
The one...
circle.
So that's a very common symbol, the interlocking two green arrows. It doesn't mean packaging can be recycled or even it has ever been part of the recycling process. It means the manufacturer has made a financial contribution to recovery and recycling of packaging in Europe.
Oh, but every time I see that, I chuck it in the recycling.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that.
What about that one?
Yes, the white arrow pointing to its tail. That means the product is widely recycled by 75% or more of local authorities.
What about that
and
one?
And the three folded arrows, the product is theoretically recyclable, but there's no guarantee that your borough will take it, and definitely you can't assume that it can go in the recycling. I mean, it is really complicated.
It should just say, this is put this in the recycling bin, don't put this in the
don't, exactly. We produce in the UK over 44,000 metric tonnes of non-recycled waste every single day. And if you look at the rubbish that's on the set around here, this is the UK average for the amount produced by one person per year at home. So it's about 35 bin bags worth, 222 kilograms. I mean, this is obviously just household waste. This doesn't count as commercial or industrial waste that we produce as a byproduct of the things that we buy. This is my favourite rubbish list. 2016, the waste clearance company EnviroWaste compiled a list of the most unusual things it had discovered in waste in London. A dead stuffed cat dressed in a baby's onesie. A nude painting of Albert Einstein. A shoebox filled with dozens of mouse skeletons. A sealed box full of maggots. A bone of St Clement of Rome, the fourth Pope. A super soaker full of urine and a Victorian dildo. Which brings us to the dirty matter of the scores, where there's a definite whiff of corruption. In first place, with 7 points, it's Holly.
Congratulations.
In second place with 4, Johnny. With -4 in third place, Bridget.
Oh.
Okay. Alan, fourth place, -26. Well done.
Oh.
And it's thanks to Bridget and Johnny, Holly and Alan, and I leave you with this rubbish remark from film actor Richard Burton. If you're going to make rubbish, be the best rubbish in it. Good night. The show you've just seen was one of 2 episodes of QI which were recorded without an audience because of social distancing rules. If you enjoyed the novelty, I've got some good news for you. There's another one next week. If not, don't worry. Week after that, we're back to normal. Either way, we'll see you next time. Stay safe.